This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
ZZ Top is bringing their iconic Rock Sound of the Ledge Amphitheater on June 12th. Don't miss out on this epic concert. You can win your way in by checking out our contest page at KFAN.com, keyword contests.
Poke the bear, choke Gobert, Wolves in 5. I think the unofficial rule is you need 3 before the Wolves in 5, Warriors in 5, don't you?
I think so.
That's not bad.
It's very good.
It's well done, but if you could find a third one, then I think you got something.
If you want to push yourself.
Poke the bear, choke Gobert, Wolves in 5. So, how on it were we yesterday? What did we talk about from the cage? If Draymond is going to revert, he's going to wait to do it until the Wolves are up 15.
We know ball.
He can't even make it up, and they literally were up 15
I know.
when he did it. And I do think that does enter into his thinking. Will you explain to me, I meant to ask the experts last night inside the hall, but I didn't. Why was Draymond, why was he assessed? Why was that a technical, not a flagrant? How do we determine the differences between the two?
I'll double check for sure, but I believe that technicals are outside of play and flagrants are in a play. Like a live foul can be a flagrant foul, but not a technical foul.
Oh, because they'd already called a foul.
The foul had been called, play was dead.
Okay.
And then, so it's kind of a semantical game.
Okay.
Because I actually think his flagrant count is up there too, where he might get in trouble. Because there was some controversy, wasn't there, that he got a technical and not a flagrant, or a flagrant but not a technical? I
think he's too off of, this is another thing.
I know, it's ridiculous. The agenda.
The man who is stereotyped as being too angry is like on the verge on the basis of 2 different sets of transgressions being suspended again.
So,
right?
Yeah, I think it's because technically the play was dead because of the foul on Nas. Okay. So it's after the whistle, after the play is done. That's why it's a technical. I think that's how Tony Brothers kind of described it when he got to the microphone to announce it to the crowd.
How did the TNT crew handle it? How critical of Green were they in the wake of what took place on that play, and then Green turning it into the circus afterwards? Do we know? Because we were both there, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to know if people can tell us how they... Because I think part of what's happened with Draymond a little bit is, if you're doing national broadcasts and you're doing a lot of his games, you're almost... It's as if you lose the ability to be outraged. Because you see it so often and you're so worn down, and you've almost come to accept what we talked about with Green. Yeah, there are Draymond rules on this. There's no question. There's a different set of rules regarding post-technical foul deportment or post-flagrant foul deportment, in which he'll be allowed to get away with a lot more, and we'll wait for sooner or later, because first it was Steph had to come over.
I know, on his bad hammy.
That's true.
He's got to get up and limp his way down to midcourt.
Eventually it was Kerr, and then Kerr brought him out, and then they finally sat him on the bench, I think.
Van Gundy, from what I heard, and I think that's just following Creasel and Meat Sauce tweets last night, Van Gundy, from what it sounded like, and people can confirm or correct, was basically like, that's bad luck for Draymond. Like, I don't think he was trying to do anything there.
Oh, come on.
People confirm or correct me, but I'm pretty sure that's what Creasel and Sauce said. You know who actually was...
How can, in all seriousness, you know why you know it was intentional? There were 2 pieces to it. It was almost, you could almost see Draymond look at the positioning of the guy who just fouled him. It was Nas, right?
It was Nas.
And he then came down harder than he even needed to. It wasn't just reflex. How can anybody, and let's again say, I know it's hard to because it's Draymond and we all are expecting the worst, even though, as I said at the top of the show, I hate to say it, 2 + 2 = 4. Your record speaks for itself. How can you think that was not, and I didn't think he should have been thrown out of the game for it. I thought it was a flagrant 1 or a technical. Now, again, maybe it can't be because the play was stopped. But to suggest to me that was, no, that's just is happening in the heat of the battle. Ridiculous.
I know that Game 7, I think Game 7 with Houston was an ESPN game or ABC. Mike Breen, the play-by-play guy, went on a long rant about there's different rules for Draymond. Yeah. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't want to take what he said out of context, but essentially he was annoyed by it. And then the crew, I assume it was Doris and Richard Jefferson, the crew kind of went along with it as well and saying there's just things that Draymond can do that nobody else can do. And at times it just gets fatiguing. It's tiring to watch. What he did last night after they did the review and the things he was saying and the way he held it up, it makes no sense that he was. Now, some people's theory is they thought Draymond wanted to get tossed. And so they weren't going to get 15. They weren't going to give him the satisfaction.
So that's the old with the refs. That's the old. We've told that Flip Saunders story many times before,
yes.
Where as hard as he sometimes was begging to get thrown out because he sort of you almost want, it's part of the cachet of being a head coach. I'm trying to fire up my players,
yes.
whatever. And on that same logic, the ref in that situation refused to do it because they did think similarly, I'm not going to give you what you want. I'm not going to make it easy for you. But
that's the deep conspiracy
I'm not sure
theory.
I buy it in this case. Or I would say at some point, the amount of time this was taking took it to a place where even if they didn't want to give him satisfaction, the situation demanded that they throw him out of the arena.
It's
out of the gym.
Infuriating to watch. When you think about how other people get officiated and get technicals, and he kind of knows. We even talked about this with Anthony. Remember, because was it Jim Pete? It was somebody when Anthony got that quick technical against Brooklyn.
Yes.
And that eventually was rescinded, right?
That's right.
So, because he got to play the last game against Utah, because people were saying, well, the refs got to know how many the player has and how close they are to the line. And I think you and I were both in agreement. Well, no, they don't. It's not the ref's job to police technicals by adult male players.
You have to process that in your head before you make the call on what you saw?
He just MF'd me to my face in front of all these people, but he's at 15. If I bang him here for a tech, he's going to be suspended. The refs should not have to carry that burden. And the same thing with Draymond in this situation. I don't care how many flagrants or tech. Like, that is what it is. And if he's doing something that, because I even thought Luka should have gotten one by the letter of the law against the Lakers. When Jaden tripped him and he turns around and he starts swearing at the officials. Like, all these guys do it, but Tom Crean said it. Luka gets away with it a little bit more. I think it is kind of the deluge of yelling and screaming. Yeah. It just there becomes this level of you don't even notice it anymore, or it just doesn't bother you.
Well, if you believe in conspiracy theories, another one regarding Okie City is their defensive approach is foul on every possession.
That's Chris Finch's theory.
And if you do that, they can't call it every single time. So we'll take the odds working in our favor in that regard. You just overwhelm them with fouls. Similarly, Draymond just overwhelms the officials with aberrant, unhinged behavior, and you just say, "Well, I'm just gonna kind of let that go." Somebody's suggesting, this is from Big Bert. Barkley was the only one after the game among the TNT panel who thought that it was a foul, that it was it was worthy of a technical foul.
Poke the bear, choke Gobert, Finchie's hair. Wolves in 5.
Well, somebody else has, I don't know if it's the same person, Dylan from Northfield, is it Jaden stare, Finchie's hair, call it fair, Wolves in 5.
So 2 different Finchie's hair.
Came up. So Finchie's hair is becoming a thing?
Well, you saw it last night.
It is impressive.
Live in person in the press conference room. It's just majestic flow.
He's a good-looking man.
It's a hell of a salad.
There's no question about it.
It's so good.
There's no arguing with that part of it. Where was the other one? I thought there was one more. Oh, Oh, no. Oh, yeah, you read the Poke the Bear, Choco Bear. So they added
multiple Finchie's hair.
Finchie's hair to that one, too. Has anybody ever asked him in more relaxed moments, is he a... It's not a wet head gel look, I don't think. Is it?
Like what kind of product does he use?
What kind of product does
I don't know.
It's got to be. PA ever asked him?
He should.
He should.
You're right. It's got to be well conditioned. He's got to be using something high end.
Something's going on there. Yeah. That's got to be.
Because it looks like it should be flowing, but it never really moves. But it's not.
But it's not.
It's not like matted or stiff.
Yeah, it's not greasy looking either.
No.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Well, you are.
Yeah, I mean, we all are. It's unbelievable. You want to give away some money?
Let's do it.
FanandBigDeck.com. I want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest, and the keyword for the 4 o'clock hour is bank. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword bank.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
We've got your shot to win tickets to Summer of Loud 2025. It's Friday, July 11th at Somerset Amphitheater. You can see performances from Beartooth, I Prevail, Parkway Drive, and more. Head over to the contest page to see how you can win. KFAN.com, keyword contest.
Seth in Brooklyn Park. Dan, I love Tom Crean, but when he was talking about Draymond and NBA TV ratings, he's delusional if he thinks people are tuning in just to watch Draymond. Viewership is not going to go down if he gets tossed. I think there's some truth to that, but what I would add is I don't rule out, sadly, the possibility that the referees last night, in the back of their mind, there's a little voice whispering, Warriors don't have much chance to come back in this game.
Right.
But if we boot Draymond, literally the game is over.
Ball game.
And TVs are going to shut off at that point, and this is becoming and this is the only game in town last night. So I do think there is a little bit of that, and I think that plays to the joke about, well, Draymond knows when his team's cooked, and so sometimes he will wait until a situation like that to almost beg to get tossed out of the ball game. I don't think, let's put it this way, I will be shocked if this technical foul is rescinded. Won't you?
Yes.
I really will be surprised.
Especially because of what happened after.
No,
if anything, they should add a technical. If anything, they said, hey, by the way, we should have given him another one.
Do we have any more details? Is anything else coming out about... So the Wolves are saying they are looking for a second fan who they believe it was connected to what was the term that was used? Not racist. The term that was used, I think, was
racially charged
comments.
Yes.
So, and we don't know what those comments were.
We don't.
The story first came from, I think, last night, Warrior Security. And then it has evolved from there. And then the Wolves had a statement, released a statement today.
Yeah, and when it kind of broke the first time, we thought it was just one individual who was ultimately taken out by security, removed from the arena. In the Wolves statement, they indicate that a second individual was identified by surrounding patrons, so other fans, as making racially charged comments towards Green. That individual left on his own before arena security could confirm his identity.
Okay.
In their statement, the team says they are continuing to investigate and additional action may be taken. So it sounds like it was 2 people. They caught one, and the other one got out before.
Draymond Green acts like a clown. Ant came back after going down. Turned game 1 from frown. No.
From smile to...
I already blew the joke. Yeah, let me start over. Let's long pause. Draymond Green acts like a clown. Ant came back after going down. Turned game 1 frown upside down. Wolves in 5. It's not punchy.
It's a long walk.
It's a little. It's
a long walk. You can
usually I love long walks. Yes, that's who I am.
That's right. You could tighten it up a little bit, I think, to make it a little bit punchier. But again, the spirit. We're not going to try to douse the spirit of what people are doing to the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line.
Yeah. So we got an inside source on Finchie's hair.
Is that right?
Daughter-in-law works where he gets haircut. She is a colorist. Finch's hair is natural.
Oh, yeah.
Of course it is. No coloring needed.
You can tell that.
I was looking for a little bit more inside, without giving away secrets, just what is the secret? Well, I guess I am asking for the secret if I ask what the secret.
But it can't be a secret.
No, I wouldn't think so.
There's not that many hair secrets, are there? Maybe there are. Maybe that's why we don't have hair like that.
Yeah.
If you have to ask, you don't deserve to know.
Huh.
Yeah, I just want to know the products. Shampoo, conditioner, is it a pre-conditioner? Is it a dry conditioner, dry shampoo? It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I hope, like I said, the Wolves are successful in figuring out, because I assume does the organization always know who has a ticket on a given night? The way it works now?
Yeah, because you have to have the Timberwolves app.
The app.
So if you can narrow it down to the seat of where you're sitting, that can be easily tracked, I would imagine.
What you're saying is that other individuals heard it, didn't like it, called it out, or in effect identified the perpetrators. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I think Warrior Security, I think, identified the first guy.
I see. Oh, I see.
And I think, and I think after when the one guy was getting taken out, I think some other fans probably clued in to security. Hey, by the way, there was somebody else that said some stuff too. They're gone.
I want to know what he said, obviously, or what they allegedly said. But I had a text earlier after we got into this, at the top of the show. Like, well, guess what? Draymond getting what he deserves if he acts like that. No, come on, what are you doing? Booing? You can do the Draymond sucks chant. I hate it, but go ahead. It's a free country.
I'm with you.
But no, that's where you kill your own legitimate concern and criticism about his deportment and his behavior when you go to that place. You're dead. You're done. There's no equivocation on it. There's no negotiation. It's not difficult.
It should not be complicated.
Quiet ass, old ass, bring your ass, Wolves in 5. That's a lot of. I think that's cheating though, because instead of rhyming, you're just using the same word 3 times.
Different phrases. Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's a little different exercise.
Green is mean. Ant was seen. Finch's hair pristine. Wolves in 5. I could do this all day. I'm not going to lie. It's fun.
Since Shannon Sharp did it, it's a shame he's about to get canceled.
Yeah,
and when I say a shame, you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
I don't mean it like that.
Yeah.
Since he started it and Ant took it to another level, it's been phenomenal.
Is there such a thing as stylist client privilege? There probably is, actually.
I bet if the client
especially
asks,
if there's coloring involved,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
So you don't leave that that's up to me to deal with that.
Right.
If I want to, and I think I kind of get that. I understand it. I obviously, a hairstylist for me is a contradiction in terms, but
not necessary.
Not necessary at this point.
No.
Except, and even when I had hair, I never went. I was like, what's the haircutters? What's the franchise place? There's a million of them.
Great Clips?
I used to go to Great Clips.
That's where I still go.
Yeah.
Country Village. My gals.
I never went to any.
They're the best.
Kind of fancy places, actually.
Now, did you ever do this when you were a kid? And I know women do this a lot, too, where you'd bring the picture in of the celebrity or the person that you liked their hair and you wanted them to copy it?
Yeah.
Do you think I could do that with my stylist at Great Clips? Could I bring it in and go, now, look, I know I'm not going to get Finchy's hair, but could you just eyeball it and tell me what you think he's using?
Right.
What you think he's doing? I bet they could. They've worked there forever, as long as I've been going, and it's like 15 years now. So
I would think they would try. They would at least give it a shot, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why they wouldn't.
Katie and Kelly, if you're listening, Google Chris Finch's hair.
Yeah.
Help me out. I'm about due. So maybe next week. I think that's
going to be a tough thing for them to
eyeball?
Get you to
replicate.
Yeah, to replicate.
Yeah, I'm self-aware. Okay. I'm not asking that my hair looks like Finchy's hair, but I'd at least like to give it a shot, get in the ballpark, because it also looks like it just sets well and is comfortable for him.
Stifle Tower, Draymond sour, Steph had to hit the shower, Wolves in 5. Ant slam a jammy, Steph pulled a hammy, go tell your mammy, Wolves in 5. Are there a lot of people thinking Wolves in 5? I don't feel that confident about Wolves in 5.
I just think
but
because
you're going with the bit.
Lakers in 5, Wolves in 5. I think people are just going with it.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. By the way, do we know, was Draymond's comments after the game in the locker room, was he reacting to the idiots who allegedly offered a racial epithet, racist epithet, whatever?
Right.
Or was it more to almost like, well, I don't understand why, because that gets back to what we talked about at the start. He can't possibly not be that unaware of himself to be surprised that if indeed he is stereotyped for his anger, forget race, because that's a whole other issue, as we've discussed, for his anger, for his unhingedness, that whether he likes it or not, the record speaks for itself, doesn't it?
We don't know for sure, but the assumption is it's about the fan stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
Because that was also, I mean, honestly, he should have been, at that point, post-game, he should have been over whatever happened during the game. That was like 90 minutes before. Yeah. But I do think, but I do think if that's happening in the fourth quarter, that would be triggering. I would think that would be triggering, and that would be frustrating. So I would imagine it was about the fan stuff as opposed to what happened between him, Nas, and the officials.
Craig Kilborn, Rick Mahorn, Foghorn, Leghorn, Wolves in 5. Might need a little work, but I again still like the...
And I like having Craigers involved.
Effort. Yeah, very much so. That's true, even though he misspelled Kilborn, but that's okay. Might have been...
Text to talk.
Text to talk. Is that what they call it? The kids call it in the business?
You can, yeah.
Vikings have rookie minicamp right now. Is that correct?
I suppose. I guess.
And I think Randy Moss's kid was there.
He is there.
Our number 1 draft pick, the guard out of Ohio State, was there.
D-Jack.
And a lot of players are already getting raves. It's already started. It's no question the whole thing's coming together. Ben Goessling, I'm assuming, was there or knows about what happened there. He is scheduled to, I didn't mean to rhyme that either. He is scheduled to join us next. Lavelle, who was at Target Center last night.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
About 1 hour. Shaquille O'Neal, Bradley Beal, Achilles heel, Wolves in 5. Now, none of those have anything remotely to do
Not really.
with the series, but I in some ways that makes it more fun.
I was worried about Ant's Achilles heel.
Were
last
you?
night. Yes.
I was.
Until I saw the replay.
I hate to say it. He's going to be the guy who cries wolf because did you saw the quote from Nas?
Yeah.
Nas said, I've seen this play 80 times. He's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Until he isn't. I know he could actually get hurt, but it is bizarre as we prepare for Ben Goessling, how he looks like he's been killed or shot.
Right.
And I think he sells it so well that people then assume this could be bad. And even after the game, what did the head coach say? Well, I did think this one I was going to have to play, not have him available to me in the second half.
So Goessling's on hold. He's ready. But to show why good beat people are important, and people that are in the trenches and around and know the ticks of the people that they cover, I stuck around for a few more press conferences last night. I was in there for Nikhil and Jaden, and they asked at the end, somebody asked about Ant, and I think, Nikhil, I can't remember exactly what they said. Nikhil might have said, it took him a long time, and there wasn't a lot of weight put on it, and he kind of always figured he's going to pop up. And he did. I'm paraphrasing. And Jace Frederick, the longtime Wolves beat writer, is watching Jaden the whole time. And I don't even think he had the mic, just shot out. Jaden, it doesn't seem like you thought he was hurt. because you could just see on his face, and it just elicited a great answer. And I go, that guy knows the team.
That's it.
He knows how to get out of it, and that's when he called him Superman, and we've seen him do it a million times. It was good stuff by Jace.
Goessling is brought to you by, as always, Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. He joins us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Let me ask you here's my toss-up question to you to sort of link our discussion to this point, keep it timely, but still connect it with the sport that you cover on a regular basis. In basketball, the assumption is that there's a different set of rules for star scorers when it comes to foul calls, benefit of the doubt. That in the case of handing out discipline, there's a different standard for Draymond Green and a couple of others, Luka included, that they just wear their officials out so much they tend to get away with more than any other player would. So in the National Football League, do we have anything similar regarding the notion that certain players are going to get the benefit of the doubt on what? Holding calls, pass interference calls? Does any of this translate or not so much?
This translates quite well, and I can think of a very specific example to this that Vikings fans probably will not need much prompting to recall. The current NFC North champions, the ones that the Vikings played in the final regular season game 272, are known for pass interference or riding the line, pass coverage techniques that basically dare the officials to call it and kind of bet on the idea. At least I've heard people around the league talk about this that think the Lions are basically saying they're not going to call it on every play. They can't slow the game down that much and make it boring and a flag fest because nobody wants that. So if we do it enough, you say some of the flags are cost of doing business and you're going to get a few of those, but if you can do it all the time, and there were some moments in that game at the end of the season I can remember, I think if TJ Hawkinson were to speak as candidly as he might be inclined to do in whatever setting that would be, I can remember a couple of crossing routes in that game where Alex Anzalone was covering him quite affectionately, let's put it that way. There was a lot of grabbing and riding along with him. So the Lions would be the one that I think of, but I can think of this with corners over the years where if it becomes part of their brand, that they're physical, that they're a little bit grabby, that they're probably going to get called for a few, but not all the time. And that does even become a little bit of the bet that, hey, they're not going to do this every time. So if we can deal with a couple, then overall it's going to actually be a benefit in the long run.
That's a very good callback. So when it comes to, let's say, star quarterbacks, and for example, when the official decides because it's always a judgment call on intentional grounding, for example, is there any reason to believe that, accomplished quarterbacks get more of the, with the Tom Brady's of the world, get more of the benefit of the doubt on that call, or not so much that sort of favoritism did not necessarily reveal itself?
I think there are probably times where, I certainly could think of defensive coaches that would say, yeah, that's probably happening with some of those quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, I think there's a lot of talk about that in terms of when he's running down the sideline. And if you hit him as he's going out of bounds, you have to make a play on him because otherwise he can, give you a jab step and cut back inside and you're going to look stupid. So there are some of those where I think people feel like if you're hitting him near the boundary, near the sideline, that he might get a step or two that other quarterbacks would not get in terms of getting a call there. So I think there are some of those things. I think some of it in the NFL is that there are so many rules that some of the protection for star players, which means quarterbacks, has been codified. I think of the Anthony Barr hit on Aaron Rodgers where he takes him out, he breaks his collarbone at US Bank Stadium in 2017, and then the rule after that year became that you can't land on a ball carrier with your full body weight so you didn't drive him into the ground. And that kind of became known as the Anthony Barr rule or the Aaron Rodgers rule.
That's
and
true.
I remember defenders initially saying, how am I supposed to make this decision in a split second where I don't land with my full weight? And I think that came back. I think the Packers had a moment, and the Vikings might have even had a moment in the game the following year where that got called. I think it was a Clay Matthews call that went into that, that may have actually saved the Vikings and preserved that game being a tie. But, yeah, there are some of those things that I think the NFL puts in so many rules to protect offenses protect star players in the name of health and safety, that whether officials are kind of doing the unspoken thing and giving preferential treatment to star players, I think there are times where the league does it just by writing those rules in that way and saying, this is how we're going to call the game.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I mean, certainly over the years, the feeling was Brady got protected a little more on roughing the passer penalties as well. And sometimes I think it was fair. Sometimes I think people made that assumption. And in fact, it was a legitimate call or non-call as well. All right. So we've got, you seemingly via X all but confirmed, and maybe since I saw that tweet, you have confirmed the Vikings schedule that they're going to play twice internationally. Where are we on that story? What can you report?
Yeah, so I have been told by a couple of people at this point, and probably have even a little more of a solid sense of it at this point than I did early, that they are going to play back-to-back games, and I think all of this will be announced next week. But it sounds, barring some last-second change, that they are preparing to play back-to-back games internationally this fall. They would go to Dublin to play the Steelers, and then London the following week for the third time in 4 years to play the Browns, who are, both of those teams are on their schedule. The Vikings would go to Pittsburgh and would go to Cleveland, which makes them possible opponents for those London games, or in this case, the first one in Dublin. So they have been over there 4 times in, I think, 11 or 12 years, and obviously quite a bit recently, and have won every time they've gone over there. They had the marketing rights in London. So I think the league looked at this and said, this actually makes some sense, because yes, we are asking a team to be over here twice, but you actually have enough time to practice and get used to the time zone thing. And if it's a team that has a bit of a following over here, or at least has signaled some openness to playing over here a fair amount of the time, then it becomes a thing that the league says, yeah, let's give this a try. So I don't know that it will. I mean, I haven't talked to players about it officially yet, because nobody's able to say anything official, because the league kind of tries to prioritize these announcements. But it will be interesting to hear what everybody thinks of it and how they're going to handle the logistics of it, because I think the Jaguars have done this, where they played, I think, one game as the road team and the next is the home team. But not many teams have done this, where you're playing 2 in a row in an international setting, where you're having to move your whole system over there, and players get acclimated to a different time zone for a longer period of time. So they've handled this well when they've done it. But this, if in fact it becomes the way it goes, and I have every reason to think it will, is a different challenge. I'm very curious to see what the logistics are of how they handle it.
Do coaches hate this concept, do you think? Do you think KOC loves this, hates this? What do you think?
I think there are certainly things that become more difficult with it. I mean, there's a lot of everything from what players are eating and, nutrition-wise, what they're taking in during a week, to, is the locker room going to be a good fit? Is it going to be big enough? Where do you practice? I mean, all of the things that coaches like to have under their control and under a routine get disrupted. So you have a lot of that stuff that becomes a little more difficult. But I think he understands the value of it, I mean, at least to the Vikings, because this has become something they're pretty clear about wanting to do to kind of grow their brand internationally to whatever extent you can do it. So I think he has indicated that he appreciates that and understands his role in that. And I think there's also a sense of, if they can manage it, maybe it can be an advantage in the sense that another team has to deal with the disruptions as well. You're not playing Pittsburgh in a tough home environment. You're not playing the Browns in what can be a tougher home environment, even if the Browns are very good. You're playing them effectively in neutral sites. And if you can manage the disruptions, manage the way to get players ready to be at their best in a different setting, better than the other team can do it, I think there's a little bit of, this can actually be something of an advantage, or at least something that they can handle a little bit better than somebody else. And
more importantly, we don't lose any home games, right?
Right. This is the year where they would not give up a home game. And in fact, I think their agreement with the Sports Facilities Authority only allows them to give up one more home game, I believe, until 2030. It's the first 15 years at US Bank Stadium they could give up 3 home games to international dates, and the one they played in 2013 while they were still in the Metrodome does count against that 3. So they had the one in 13, the one last year, and they could do one more time as the home team. And how this is typically working is that the years where NFC teams have 9 home games are the years that they could possibly be the home team for an international game. So the even-numbered years would be the ones to keep an eye on, 26, 28, and 30 for that. But this year, they are keeping all their home games. They will go as the road team if, in fact, this gets finalized next week.
All right, we have rookie minicamp. The most people, I'm assuming, are most curious to see how the Ohio State rookie, our top pick, Donovan Jackson, looks. I'm far more interested in what Max Brosmer looked like at rookie minicamp today. Did we see enough already from him for you to suggest there might be a brewing quarterback controversy?
Between him and JJ?
Yes.
Is that what you're getting at?
Well, at least between him and any other, our main option, Sam Howell for the backup quarterback, and then eventually, with JJ McCarthy.
I mean, I suppose anything is fair game until they announce the hierarchy, which we know KOC has not wanted to do quite yet. So, no, I don't think there's any reason to think that. I mean, I think they like him, and we saw some things today that he made some nice throws. I mean, a lot of what Gopher fans have watched with him, and there were some times where you could tell just connections with receivers weren't quite there yet, some passes behind people, and, how much of that is quarterbacks learning a new offense, receivers learning a new offense. I mean, I don't think anybody was terribly alarmed by mistakes made on the field today, and there certainly were some of those. But, O'Connell talked a little bit today about actually having the chance to see him twice, because he had thrown at the Gophers Pro Day, I think, even when he had first come to Minnesota after coming from New Hampshire. So I remember being there last year and watching Max Brosmer throw in that setting, and I remember talking to O'Connell about seeing him in that setting, and he said today that actually was not a bad thing for him in terms of being able to see him twice. And he's got enough of a relationship with PJ that I think they compare some notes and kind of pick each other's brains a little bit. So he has a little bit of a background on him from those conversations as well. But I think he's certainly going to get a chance to, get plenty of reps, get a chance to play in the preseason. I think he's somebody they will keep around through training camp, and then we'll see what happens. Probably practice squad would be my guess that may be the ceiling for him. But I think they're intrigued by him enough, especially the way he throws the ball, that he will get some time and get a chance to develop and see where this goes. They need developmental quarterbacks, even though they have J.J. McCarthy, and Sam Howell is still fairly young. Having more quarterbacks developing in your building is never a bad thing. And they've seen with Sam Darnold, maybe with Daniel Jones, that if nothing else, you can turn those guys into assets that you benefit from if they end up on another team. So I think there will be some investment in him over these next few months here, and then we'll see what happens. But I think there's enough there that I would expect he'll at least get that much of a look.
I don't think J.J. McCarthy is participating in this mini camp. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
He is not.
So are there rules that would prohibit him from doing it? He's technically, of course, not a rookie. Does that matter? Or could the Vikings say, or J.J. say, hey, you know what? I'm coming off an injury. I wouldn't mind being out there as much as I can. I'll participate in this. How does all that work?
Yeah, I wondered about that too this week, because I have seen in the past, I believe, times where a guy is coming off of an injury or it doesn't have a credited season, and some of those things of all the CBA minutia would allow you to participate or not. So I went into this week thinking it's not impossible that he could. I'd have to go back and look at the exact wording of the rule on that to be completely sure about it. But I don't think it was impossible that he was allowed to do it. He, for whatever reason, whether it was against the rules or whether they decided it's not worth it, he was not there. I think he will get most of the first team work in OTAs, and then even some of the workouts he's doing on the field at this point just with players. I think Kevin O'Connell, said it with Rich Eisen the other day. He's getting plenty of work with Ryan Kelly, who's obviously going to be the number one center. So I think they probably felt like there's not enough to be gained from this, even if he can do it, to put him out there at this point.
All right, now let's get to what I think is the most important stuff. You retweeted an ex submission from the Timberwolves that had side by side photos of the Vikings being well represented at Game 2 last night at Target Center. And to the left, it's Kevin O'Connell and his wife, and to the right, it's B-Flow and his family as well. Here's what I found interesting about the photos and the, I guess you could say, sartorial choices of the two coaches. So on the left, KOC goes capless. On the right, B-Flow because we usually see B-Flow like KOC with a cap on, right? During the season and certainly during games, etc. So
B-Flow likes his flat brim.
B-Flow stayed with that. KOC went without the hat, and I got to tell you, I'm disoriented by it. I have KOC looks like a different person to me without the cap. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not often that we see him without a cap on. You're right. He, I think, is trying to make the tactical decision that sometimes men approaching their 40s have to make. So, sometimes I think that goes into it. But it was interesting. He had a lot of screen time last night. There were a couple times they showed bench, and you see O'Connell and his wife right behind. Yep. And I think in a lot of the shots of once you figured out where he was sitting, basically just every time down, even on the wide shot, you could see he's right behind the court. So. Yeah, maybe it was, he knew he was going to be courtside enough. He knew he was going to be on the camera that he didn't want to be, having shadows on his face. I don't know. My guess is that there's probably I don't know this for sure, but if I had to guess, there's probably a Leah O'Connell vote on some of these things where she says, no, we're not doing that tonight. I wouldn't be stunned if she said, hey, you're going to be on TV a lot, so let's think about this and let's, kind of play it a certain way here.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at a picture right now. He's right behind is KOC Chris Finch. That's a tough hair matchup for anybody.
That was my next point.
We've been talking about hair all day on the show, Ben.
See, I think that's why he should have had a cap on. No offense, because I'm the last person to judge hair, obviously. But that's a really, you grade on the Finchy curve, nobody's going to compare.
That's a 16-1 NCAA tournament matchup, I think. That's it. I was also going to add that Kwesi was also at the game. Tim Conley had like every exec in town in a suite right behind us. So nice. Falvey, Sans hat, and his wife, I think Megan, were there. Kwesi was there, and he, Ben, really goes hat almost exclusively, doesn't he? I mean, every press conference you guys talk to him, Kwesi has been cooking with the hat a lot recently.
And the stretch pants.
You got to have the stretch pants.
Those.
Kwesi's got that hat that I think the Vikings analytics people got him, and you're starting to see a few more of these around the Vikings. You see a few more people wearing them. It's like basically a Vikings logo, but it's a guy at a keyboard, kind of a keyboard warrior kind of thing.
Okay.
So he's been rocking that a lot more lately. So I think he's trying to get the analytics folks a little more shine, a little more publicity with the hat. I don't know. I didn't see if he had that one on last night, but that's usually what he's wearing these days. So maybe it was a tactical decision that way too. There's so much of this now. It's like, you have to assume you're going to be on camera.
Yes.
Somebody's going to see you. Somebody's going to think about what you're wearing. So all of this stuff in the Instagram generation, I suppose, is things you have to have planned out well in advance.
I don't know what he was wearing last night, Kwesi, but at other games he was at this postseason, he has very cool vintage Timberwolves hats.
Oh, interesting.
That children in the 90s in Minnesota will appreciate. Right. He definitely he's got a good hat game for sure. For sure.
Like Pooh Richardson Timberwolves kind of era.
Exactly right.
I hate the flat hat, too. I can't stand the flat hat, but very few people wear the flat hat better than B-Flow in that photo.
No one, no one but Flo should wear it.
You might be right. He may have been the one.
Yes, and vest, too. He looks great in a vest. He's good in vest,
too. You're exactly right. So do we agree that if we're talking about all coaches, all head coaches, nobody touches Finchy's hair?
Like all time
in
or
any
just
sport?
local?
Well, in any sport now, we could broaden it at some point.
I'd have to think. I mean, Pat Riley, historically.
Yeah, I'm talking about in this town
Barry
now.
Melrose.
I mean, so Barry Melrose. That's it. That's pretty good. What about Rocco? Rocco kind of shaves his head, doesn't he?
Yeah, Rocco doesn't have much hair at all.
But I mean, that's a look.
Yeah.
And it's a clean look. It's a good look on Rocco.
John Hines, bald.
Yeah, that's true. Hines bald. I don't think. I mean, I think Finchy. It's like
PJ's bald.
It's
PJ bald.
That's right.
bald.
You're right. That's true. We got a lot of bald guys, don't we?
Coaching stressful.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Finchie's got this full head of hair. Seriously. And it flows forever.
It's amazing.
Doesn't move yet, but doesn't look super manufactured gelish. It's remarkable.
I think O'Connell has talked about this a little bit in relation to Sean McVay, because he'll give Sean McVay a hard time. Like, he's one of the guys that always knows the camera's on and always wants to make sure he looks a certain way. I think it's that, and then the other one that he probably gets compared to a lot is Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur has usually the eyebrow game with Matt LaFleur, but that always becomes a point of comparison too of all of those, Shanahan, McVay kind of disciples. Who is the most well coiffed on the sidelines?
No question. Good text by Dr. Phil from St. Michael, who writes, I would say the same thing about Bud. Looks totally different without the Viking hat. It's so true. I'll give you another guy that I used to cover back in the day, Tom Landry. The difference between Tom Landry's countenance with the hat and without it, astonishing. I mean, he looked so diminished without the hat. He looked more human. Because with the hat, he's like a football god, right? But without his style of hat, which he was a ball cap guy during practices, but not obviously on the sidelines, completely different looking person.
Yeah, the regal kind of slow motion NFL films of him pacing the sideline with the hat on, and it's all part of the mystique. I mean, you can think of Bear Bryant, you can think of Lombardi. I mean, all of those people. It's part of the overall brand, the overall package. I mean, those guys were ahead of their time in some ways, I guess. Very, very true, Davey. All right, anything else real quick? I do not want to ask you how anybody looked in this thing, because I think it's insulting our audience, because I just don't think it matters, other than, I guess, if somebody kept, falling on their rear end or, got hurt. So is there anything we need to mention regarding minicamp that you want to include here before we wrap up? I mean, just Ty Felton, the Maryland receiver they took in the third round, looked the part, I thought, today. I mean, I think it had a drop early, but just a guy that's a little more physical, a little bigger in stature than I thought he was. Okay. So he stuck out to me a little bit. And then with Donovan Jackson, the first-round pick, it's kind of a learning curve of things at this point. They're going to obviously stick him in. I would think giving him a fair amount of run with probably not the ones right away, but I think that's everybody's idea that he goes there. But kind of a learning phase for him at this point. O'Connell said it's mostly just working with Chris Cooper, the offensive line coach. They didn't do any 11-on-11 today, so we mostly saw a line kind of off on their own. It was a lot of kind of routes on air, as they say. But yeah, so he's kind of getting his indoctrination, and then Ty Felton was the other guy that, to me, was a little bit of an eye catcher today. Thank you, Ben Goessling. Great stuff as always. We will chat next week. Thank you. Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Ben Goessling, Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Great support for this show, and with the sponsorship of the Ben Goessling segments with us and also with Paul Allen. Top five will include
Twins host San Fran. What's the Steph plan? Idiot Wolves fan. Top 5 at 5.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.